Actions of Toronto police under the microscope. Racial inequalities and racial profiling are a reality, according to a new report. Good evening. The service is accused of systemic racism within the force, particularly when it comes to profiling black people.
The Ontario Human Rights Commission says anti-black racism in policing dates back over 4 decades. CTV's Raheem Ladani is following this story and joins us in studio with more. Raheem.
Nathan and Zoraida, the report is part of an inquiry meant to shed light on the racial inequities by Toronto police. The Ontario Human Rights Commission started this process in 2017 and say, while its findings are clear, Toronto police and the mayor aren't fully committed.
The time for debate about whether systemic racism or anti-black racism exists is over.
In its latest report, the Ontario Human Rights Commission looked into the racial discrimination of black people by the Toronto Police Service. Researchers found that between 2013 and 2017, a black person was nearly 20 times more likely than a white person to be a victim of a fatal shooting by officers.
Cases involving black people were much more likely to be the result of what I would call proactive policing, being stopped and questioned by the police, as opposed to reactive policing. Many of the cases involving white civilians were calls for service. The
findings also show black people are disproportionately arrested, charged, and subjected to use of force, even though they represent only 8.8% of Toronto's population.
None of the findings in these reports are a shock or really a surprise. These reports essentially repackage what black individuals, families, and communities have hurtfully known.
Those who are victims feel hurt, they feel devastated, they feel angry and humiliated. There is a deep-rooted damage to their sense of dignity and self-respect.
Mayor John Tory says the findings are unacceptable and more needs to be done.
Move forward more aggressively than before on a program of change and reform in policing and other areas in society where the objective has to be very simple, which is to eliminate bias and discrimination in all areas of life in this city.
In a statement, Interim Chief Jim Raymer says the Toronto Police Service is committed to accountability and community input to ensure we foster a human rights-based approach to policing and combating systemic racism. We are continuing to work on ensuring that equity and anti-racism are built into all of our policies and practices. While the police chief and mayor say they're open to working together, Ontario's Human Rights Commission says neither have committed to meeting its first call to action.
Ultimately, what we're looking for are legally binding remedies, and we say that the community deserves no less.
So what happens next? While the final part of this inquiry is now underway, the Commission is looking at the training, policies, and accountability measures within the Toronto Police Force, and along with engaging with black community members, it will then make recommendations to police to help address racial discrimination. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Zoraida, over to you.
Thank you, Raheem. And you can read more from the report on our website. Our online team has more details at ctvnewstoronto.ca.